Now here's the 4L80E for my S10. I named Project Blackie, but anyways, I have to work on it again before I even used it. I've built 3 of these transmissions. One is in use right now, and the way I set it up, if you watch the video where I built this transmission, it will not work with a single layer plate in it. You have to use the triple layer plate. I tried to cheat the system, and it didn't work. The only reason that it does not, the single layer plate does not work, is this hole right here. You can see that hole doesn't go right on through like the rest of them do. That routes the oil to over here through the plate. If you look inside, you can see a little channel down in there. Right there. A little Z channel goes right out there. I guess it's not a Z, it's like a C. When you use a single layer plate, you have no second gear, third gear, or overdrive. And apparently that feeds oil to the intermediate clutch. And when the intermediate clutches do not work at all, you don't have second, third, or fourth. So, I need to tear this back apart and put this plate in. On the transmissions that is in use, I already did that and it works fine. So, I guess I'll start tearing this apart. The only reason I wanted to use a single layer plate is the filter doesn't get all cocked off to the side in there, because the triple layer plate's thicker and it moves the valve body down. It's not much, but it's just enough where that filter sits crooked. And it brings the corner up and it wedges against the pan back here, because it sits like that. So to run this, you should buy a deep aluminum pan, which I did. Didn't want to, it's kind of pricey, but what are you going to do? Alright, got all the bolts out of the pan. Set it out of the way. Set her over there. I'm going to take the valve body back off. What I mean by the filler, I mean it's tight the way it is across there. When you get that triple layer plate, you wouldn't think it'd move that much, but it moves it probably by like that. And that causes all sorts of weird problems in there. You could probably get by with doing it, but I'm not doing it. You don't want to starve your transmission on oil or something to break or whatever. Yeah, that's stuck in there pretty good. Now I finally got the filter out of the way. So I need to take all these wires and this tube and all these bolts off. Pop that up. Switch the plate out. Put the triple layer plate in it. Put her back together. Put my new fancy pan on. Well, the bolts are loose. I got thinking this is like deja vu. Did this 3 times now. The bad part is this is the first transmission I did, and it's the last one I'm putting back the 3-layer plate inside. Actually not putting it back in, it's never been in it. But you know what I mean. Yeah, well, I better set the camera down so I can do that. We're gonna get the valve body loose. There's all the parts in the pan. Take this in, set it in on it. Pick this up and set it on the bench in there so I can work on it. Take the accumulator housing off, change the plate out. Now I got the triple layer plate installed on the valve body. Which you can see there's 3 layers instead of 1. I need to go install this back on the transmission. Alright, valve body's back on with the triple layer plate. Bolts are in except for those 2. That's that plate that holds the modulator. I'll snug all these down first. Install that because there's this little pecker thing in there for the modulator. And once I get all that back on, it's time to install my fancy new pan. I'll show you what I mean by the filter not fitting quite right on there too, with the triple layer plate. Alright, got all the bolts tightened down. You can install a filter. One thing too, when you're tightening valve body bolts down, you always start in the middle and work your way out. That way you're not warping the valve body or messing up the case. If you ever see anybody using an impact to tighten these things down, run. Because that's how bolts get stripped out, and that's how the valve body gets warped too. You're tightening it down too much at once. Always do it by hand and just slowly work your way out. But don't He-man it when you're tightening it. They don't need to be super duper tight. After you do it a while, you'll get the feel for it. Well, I'll install the filter here. It sits crooked. See that? It's sitting crooked. When you put a stock pan on, it tries to hit there in the corner. I don't like that. You can also see it's hitting the modulator down in there. What that'll do is wear a hole in it. The time you put the stock pan on, you squish all that down. That's just problems waiting to happen. One way you could get around it is doubling up your gaskets. But to me, that's not the correct way to do it. Best thing to do is buy a deep pan. Sometimes with a deep pan, you run into clearance problems underneath the car. The pan will hang down pretty good. But they do make different pans with different depths. The other thing you gotta watch out on these older transmissions is this line. You can put a newer transmission pan on here and use the newer filter. It does sit a little bit different. It works better. I did that on my Firebird. With the newer pan, back of the pan's angled back here and this line hits. What I did on my Firebird, which I don't really care for, is I kind of bent this over so the newer pan would fit on it. But I was just kind of experimenting with that transmission too. It was just a junkyard pull out that I stuck this kit in it. I didn't do anything inside to it. It's maybe down the road. I might have to, who knows. Anyways, I'll go get that pan. I'm going to stick her on. Another thing with the pan too, it's got a little spacer there and a clip that holds the filter from floating up and down. Now there's my fancy new aluminum deep pan. There's all the hardware it comes with, new bolts. They're the correct length. The spacer for the filter and this clip that holds the filter up. Actually, it doesn't hold it up, it keeps it from floating up inside. That goes in there. This little clippy clip goes right here. And what that does, it rests against the filter right there. So it doesn't try to float up in there. It keeps it more down towards the bottom of the pan. We need to lube that up, install that, and we can install the filter. Alright, spacer's in, there's little clips on there. Now it's time to install the filter. There we go. That looks better. You can see that clips down there, just kind of helps hold the filter level. Next thing to do, wash that pan off before I stick it on. Wash that gasket off. We should be done. Alright, now it's ready for the pan. Put the gasket on, put the wire back in the loom. The wires that hook up are for the lockup. This is full manual. So, there's the pan. Washed her out inside, it's nice and clean. Go ahead and set her on here. Okay, got the pan on. I think it's supposed to hold like 3 extra quarts, maybe 4. Pretty deep. The only thing I didn't like about it is it seemed like some of these holes could have been further back, especially that one right there is awful close. You have to go in, but I don't know if their bolt pattern's off when they made it or what. That's on. Didn't strip out in the holes. Should be good to go. The only thing I need to do is address these sensors over here that don't need to be there. I have to cut those brackets off. Might hit the floorboard in the S10, I don't know. Of course, that's gonna have to be changed. Anyways, I should do it. And the transmission should work just fine. At least the other ones I did are working fine.